Debbie's coming. Here they all come. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Teresa.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm gonna have to continue getting ready while we're doing this. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Fine. So here and my sister. It's Tracy. So today we are going to do the Muse Method 3 times. But the first one that I want to ask you about before we even do it is, have you done the Muse Method? Because there's actually 4 components: hands-on, eyes closed, breathing, and the intention. Have you done the Muse Method at all without the intention of breathing life into you? Or you've always done it like, I'm going to breathe life into me when I'm doing this?
I would say probably not every time. Sometimes it's just to get my third one in, I mean, I had an intention, but it didn't seem to work the way I wanted it to, I guess.
Right? Because normally we have a different intention, like get rid of whatever this is.
Right.
Right? Like, I'm not feeling like this. I want to use the Muse Method to fix it.
Yeah.
So different intention. So interesting, right? And it didn't work, you said.
Right.
Right. Because so this one I'm not gonna we're just gonna talk about when anybody tries to get rid of stuff, right? If you think of your body as, I think you said 50-50 when we were doing the percentages. And so if you think of it and you're like, oh my gosh, there's stuff in that 50% right now that I don't like, there's emotions or whatever. If you go to pull that out, it's primed and ready for those emotions again. So you can release it, but baby, it's like a magnet for the gunk. And so that's why we don't try to pull stuff out. Our intention isn't that. Our intention is to go into that fire, into that Muse fire, into the usness, and breathe life into that. Because then what happens is that comes up and it takes up more space. And the other stuff just comes out. And sometimes it comes out and we feel more as it's leaving us. But it is leaving. Right? And so breathing life into us means that we start taking up more space. And then the ease or the clarity or the peace or whatever it is that we find is more fulfilling because it's not surface deep. Okay? So the intention piece is really important, and it is going to make a difference to what happens. Okay? So I appreciate that you were like, yeah, I do the same things sometimes. And I'm like, this ain't working. I don't know why I can bring this to anybody, because it's not doing a dang thing. It's not fixing the problem. Oops, sorry. It's not meant to fix problems. It's supposed to amplify us. And then everything shifts in that space. Okay. I mean, the greatest thing I can say is we're probably good at, a lot of you have kids, not everybody. I don't know if everybody does. So whether it's your kid or your little brother or sister or your parents, you can see when they're being themselves and when they're not, and an action changes, right? Like with my kids, like if they're just getting something done, there's a difference to when they're actually showing up as the fullness of them. Like there's an embodiment, like there's a richness. Does that make sense? And so we really want to get away from just getting things done, right? Like we want to get to the point where like we're pouring into the richness of us and watching what happens from there. So that one I could only explain because I would like you to see it in your own life, but the other ones we can actually do together. So I want to do 1 minute of the Muse Method with you, and we're going to keep our eyes open. So hold on. So I just want you to experience it. Right? So you cannot close your eyes. And so Erin, if you're driving, even though your eyes are still open, I would still pull over if you can, or just don't do it. All right.
Don't
so
put both hands on your body while you're driving.
right, that too. So we're still going to do the hands on. We're still going to do the breathing. We're still going to have the intention. And I want
I'll
to
do it later. But I like
Okay.
listening, but I'll do it later. I promise.
Okay. So I just want you to see for you what happens when you don't close your eyes. Okay. So yeah, I have to figure out my body. Okay. All right. So you're choosing where, and you're keeping your eyes open. Okay. It's really hard. I'm gonna stop talking. Eyes open. So 30 more seconds. Eyes open. So Gina, we're doing the Muse method with our eyes open. 2 seconds. All right, so that's it. What are your experiences?
Harder to drop in, but I still felt that effervescent feel that I was posting about. And also something that's been added for me is out of my hands is coming like heat and some light. Kind of cool,
Mhm.
but a little bit harder to drop in with the eyes open.
Awesome. Awesome. I
Yeah,
love
for
that.
me with my eyes open, just kept getting distracted with the fact that my eyes felt dry or stingy or itchy. Or I was like, I kept trying to like refocus back to where I was supposed to be focused, but I kept getting distracted by the fact that my eyes were in fact open.
Right? Uh-huh. Awesome.
I was
things to do.
anxious, so I turned and looked at a blank painted wall, and then it was much more.
Awesome. What were you going to say, Teresa Martins?
That I was looking at what I have to do on the counter, you know, it was.
Uh-huh. Anyone else?
My
guess-
eyes,
Go ahead.
my eyes didn't want to focus. They kept like, I would lose any sort of clarity because I was staring at something on my wall.
I think it's funny how many of you were like, so I'm not going to close my eyes, but I'm going to still go into a blank space. Like, I'm going to do what my eyes would do if they were closed, even though they're open, right? So interesting. Teresa Rubino.
I was going to say I felt the same. I'm not sure I felt a distinct difference between the two, but I know that I've had a hard time kind of just getting out of my head, even if my eyes are closed.
Mhm.
So I think the struggle for me was about the same, but I did just stare at one spot. I wasn't distracted by anything. I was still trying to just focus on nothingness with my eyes open.
Okay, awesome. So I love that, like, you guys double layered your intention, not all of you. Like, one intention was to breathe life into you. The other one was like, I'm gonna still go here. I'm still gonna go to that place. And so really, I just wanted you to experience, there are times where I do the Muse method when I'm driving, and I will do one hand on the wheel, and I'm breathing, eyes open. And so there's times where the intention, the touch, and the breath is enough because I can't do the other, right? It's not possible. But in that moment, I'm like, I need this because there's crazy around me. And I want to be in that peaceful, aware, completely open space so that I can drive the way that I want to drive, not the way that other people are driving around me. And so that piece. So there's not a wrongness, but for me, the eyes closed is a huge part of it. Like it really, to use your word, Carol, it helps me to drop deeply in. Right. So now we're going to try it without touch. So I'm like, how do you even do that? I'm like, because I might want to put my hands on my legs. So we're going to do it without touch. So you're still going to close your eyes. You're still going to have intention and you're still going to do breath. And we're going to do 1 minute, 1 second. Okay, you can go ahead and start. And then everybody mute yourselves if you can, please. Okay. What are your experiences with that one?
I find time goes faster with the eyes closed.
Oh, interesting. Okay, awesome. What else?
I found I was much more attuned to my breathing, like very conscious of the rhythm of my breathing and much more body aware.
Awesome. Cool. Anyone else?
To me, it felt like Shavasana, like I was meditating in yoga. So more focused on breathing, but my body was like, where's your hands? Excuse me. Need some touch.
Anyone else?
I found that when I was kind of open to where the life was getting breathed in and not like placing my hands ahead of time, that it was a slightly different place than where I had been placing my hands.
So did you end up putting your hands on?
No.
Okay.
No, because I mean, it was like a not hands on, but when I was like, okay, I'm open to where the life is supposed to be getting breathed in.
Sure.
It was like, oh, it's a little higher than where I was putting my hands before.
Awesome.
So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. Cool.
That is really cool. Yeah. So and I'm sure you guys are also experiencing the difference of doing it with your eyes open and the difference to doing it with your eyes closed now. Just that contrast does something, right? So for me, I was like super distracted with my eyes open. I was able to still let people in. Like I was able to stop doing what I was doing, honestly. Even though, so because if my eyes were closed, I wouldn't have let Gina in at that time. But also with my eyes closed, my hands, there was this, I think Teresa Rubino said, like, there was a body awareness. It was like, I could feel the energy moving with my breath. So there was that, right? Like it was a different sense of movement, a bit more Shavasana than the Muse Method, which the Muse Method is like also, it's that piece of touch that helps, kind of like a child who's curled up in the corner. Like you're like, hey, I've got you. It's okay to come out, right? And so now, look, what do we have? We have that eyes closed. well, we can't really do breath. So we can do it the third time, like all three pieces. Because if I told you guys not to breathe for a whole minute, that would be super unkind. And I'd have a lot of people passing out. But you might want to like just, experiment with different breaths for yourself and not in a wrongness. Like, what if, I think somebody said at the beginning, are we supposed to take shallow breaths or deep breaths? Experiment different times with what feels like it's moving something for you. What feels like it's the whole intention, it's breathing life into you. Because maybe like some people that I work with, they are interesting, like they divert the breath around their heart and lungs and into like energetically and into their stomach. And they're not actually energetically filling up this space. And so we move to short breaths in order to actually energize and bring life into this area right here, because they're fine with their creativity and power, but they haven't been fine with their voice, their breath, their heart. And so, just play a little bit with the different aspects of this. Not to find the right one, because there isn't going to be a right one. It's just that you get to play and show up for yourself and be the knower, right? It's the same thing with, asking yourself each time, like, where would you like your hands? Like each time it could be something totally different. And even in the midst of a minute, you could go, oh, not there anymore. Like, Wendy was saying, if your hand was here, maybe it needed to move ever so slightly or come off. Maybe you need to hover above, right? So any thoughts to that? No?
Well, I like the idea that we can play around with it.
Mm-hmm.
And also the idea that maybe if we don't put hands on or we hover, like Wendy was saying, maybe we'll discover that the energy or our body is asking for something different than what we normally do. Like for me, I always carry my tension up in my neck and my traps. And so it always feels best for me to put both my hands right there. But when you suggested putting one hand there and then one hand somewhere else, that was a different experience for me. And I enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm. There's an interesting thing that happens so you're like, okay, so normally I go here, but when we go somewhere else, the two begin to connect and the two begin to have this intimate relationship. Like, I've got you, like you might be hurting, but I'm not down here. And so I'm gonna like just love on you, right? We're not separate parts of the body, we're one. And then there's actually other times where people have tension here or even in the top of their head. And I'm like, don't touch there at all. Let that be space, and then go to a different place and start nurturing. And then it'll go there, because a lot of times if you go right to the space where like, okay, so I don't ever hurt right here. I don't ever hurt here. But for some reason right there makes my body just go, oh God, like so much, right? There's a relaxation because I'm not doing anything to fix here. I'm just going, oh, I'm here with you. I got you. Thank you for being a beautiful body. And oh my gosh, that's so good. And then I just go somewhere else that feels like, oh, so good, right? So sometimes play around with like not even going to the place of tension. Go to a totally different place and look for where you sink in, where your body just goes, oh my God, thank you for putting your hands on me there, right?
Okay.
So we're gonna do the Muse Method one more time. This time we're gonna do all four parts. We're gonna have the intention of breathing life into ourselves, nurturing, loving, connecting, right? Hands on, breathing, and eyes closed. Okay, so 1 minute. Right, nothing wants to be slow. Here we go. Okay. Gotten your 3 in already for today. You've front loaded, as I think Debbie said before. It's up to you whether you want to do it more, but how are you feeling now?
Good.
Yeah.
I tried, Tara, I went here and here, which I've never done before because that's not where my tension was calling me. And it was an entirely different experience. In fact, it brought up emotion, like I'm a little teary. It was like it was like an I got you, like you can fully relax. It was really cool.
Awesome. Awesome. I love the fact that we're really sharing like the different levels of emotion too. Debbie had that video the other day of like being emotional and this joy coming up. And for you, it's like this tender space of like, oh my gosh, I've actually got myself. And this is how my body feels in that space of surrender and vulnerability. Right. And then we have emotions that are like, oh my gosh, they're leaving. It's a lot of toxicity or trauma or who knows what, right? It's just could be somebody else's stuff that we trapped in our bodies that are coming up that don't feel comfortable, but they're leaving.
After that last, it's like I finally found a place to focus, like right here, and it feels good today. That last meditation. I feel
Awesome.
free.
Free. How's it getting any better than that? All right, ladies. So you've got your 3, and if you choose to do more today, rock on with it. But I hope you have a magical day, and I hope to see you again tomorrow, 8:30. We went a little long today. Sorry, Gina. I know you're at work. And Tracy too. All right. Love you.
Thanks, Tara.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Mhm.